Now, the circumstances of this night when Jesus was born marks an important reminder that this birth was not an ordinary event. There had been prophecies dating all the way back to Prophet Isaiah, who had talked about the birth of Jesus. The scriptures had written about the birth of Jesus. The angel Gabriel had announced the birth of Jesus. So this was not just a baby being born. This was an orchestrated birth of the divine King, and yet one who is humbled by choice. You see, from the beginning of creation, when God made us in his own image, we fell out of right relationship with him through disobedience and sin. And through the Old Testament, God continued to reach out to us in so many ways. He spoke to Abraham, telling him that there will be restoration, that Abraham will be the father of so many people, of so many nations, in the hope that that would reconcile. But that did not work. And then he sent prophets, all the prophets that we get to hear, all of them trying to prophesy and trying to tell people to turn back so that they can be reconciled with God. And even that did not work. And through the various prophets, he tried to plead with his people, asking us to turn back to him so that we can be reconciled with him. But the more God reached out to us, the more God reached out to the people, the more they turned away from him. Yet God did not give up. In an indescribable love, God reached out to us in the greatest miraculous intervention in history, which the theologians call incarnation. In John's gospel, we read the Word, who is God, who has been there from the beginning, became flesh and dwelt among us. That is incarnation. This was Emmanuel, God with us. That means God became human to come and dwell with us. In fact, the Greek word for the lived or dwelt among us literally means that God pitched a tent among us to live with us. What does this mean? It was the ultimate initiative of undeserved love. And this initiative, this gift of love, this gift of grace that we celebrate today is what draws us here on Christmas Day in celebration. It is a baby that is divine, a divine king, and yet one that is humbled by choice. One who came to be with us, to dwell with us, so that we can identify with him and be able to believe in him. What do I mean by divine and yet humbled? First, God chose to come through the most vulnerable and helpless being, a baby. Be born to a simple and humble couple, Mary and Joseph, just a village girl and a carpenter. This is who God chose to come through. Second, God chose to have the first news appear to the shepherds in the field, the group of people who are the bottom ladder of the Israel's socio-economic and religious ladder. They are right at the bottom. And that, God chose to be born in an animal stable and was laid in a manger. It's not a coincidence that he would be born at the time when all the people from the towns have come back to the village to Bethlehem and that there would be no room. This was completely orchestrated. It is amazing who God can choose. When God can choose, as long as we create that space, we create that room, that God can choose even the most humble people, the most humble being to be able to accomplish his mission. God can choose me just as a humble person as I am. God can choose you, as humble as you are, to work through you to accomplish his mission here on earth. All these 3 points lead to what the writer of the Philippians say, that Jesus Christ, who being in the very nature of God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage, but rather he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, just so that we could identify and believe in him. In other words, God emptied himself of his power. God emptied himself of his prestige, of his divinity, and was born in human likeness. That is how much God's love is for you and for me. That he would empty himself, become human, live the life that we live today.